oh my, oh me, oh my. Welcome back, guys, to the Arcane Archive. That's right. We've got quite, in my opinion, I'm really excited for today's stories, quite frankly. I think we found quite a few bangers in today's lineup. What do you think, Sammy?
Yeah, I think we got some good stuff, a good spread, a good mix of things.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's right before the holidays too. I feel like it's just quite the smorgasbord of stories. I'm so giddy. But that being the case, you guys, thank you guys so much for coming back, acolytes, apprentices. We appreciate y'all so much. As always, before we get into this in earnest, we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping. As we always do, be sure to, of course, like and comment down below on the video. Let us know what you guys think of these stories we're saying. Let us know if you guys want us to read any other specific stories or cover any other specific topics or things in regards to tabletop RPGs and the like. Be sure to subscribe and share the channel. We primarily rely on word of mouth at the moment in order to kind of get the channel out there and to advertise, and we appreciate any all support that you can offer. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on whenever we post new videos, which again usually is every Wednesday, like 11:30 or so, between their times overall. And as always, we appreciate the support, y'all, seriously. But with that being the case, let's not keep everyone waiting any longer. Let's go ahead and dive right on in here. The first story that we have for y'all today is titled Team Friendship and the Sands of Favoritism by Max701. This has been on my mind a lot lately as the absolute worst play-by-post experience I have ever had of D&D. And I like to share this with everyone. I'm going to try to shorten this out the best I can because it was a lot of information, and I'll do my best to answer any questions after the fact. So, I made a Genie Warlock half drow. I displayed Underdark culture as well as genie stuff with mannerisms, way of speech, and cultural norms. I never insulted anyone, however, and for clarification, I referred to myself in character as this one, over saying me or I, and only sometimes changing it up here or there, usually deferred to all lady characters for their opinions over mine, and didn't regard those who couldn't fend for themselves very highly if they had character classes. Now, for anybody here who might not be in the know, OP is specifically a half drow, as well as technically a genie warlock. That being the case, drow society is incredibly intense and harsh, and it is predominantly, or I shouldn't even say predominantly, it is matriarchal. So that means that women rule over drow society with an iron fist, like, because their goddess Lolth she's a goddess, so so that being the case, I actually really love and respect OP's dedication to his character and to his character's background, because if he comes from living in the Underdark as a male drow in like Minzo Branzan or wherever, that's not gonna be an easy life, and he definitely will have certain quirks or aspects and mannerisms here or there that could be seen as a little alien or strange or like whatever. But I do appreciate the fact that he does clarify that he never directly insults or fucks with people necessarily, right? Drow are historically known to be kind of assholes, and so him coming from that environment, he might be a bit prickly, but I don't necessarily know if he's an asshole here. But let's wait. We'll see to pass judgment after we hear kind of everything more in its full extent. So, for example, if the fighter was afraid, I'd wave my own hand to dismiss said fear, and I'd walk out in front of the party ready to fight. Those who refused to train, I would display disgust towards them for being lazy. One character that I said wouldn't last a day in Minzo Baranzan. They called me sexist and would refer to me like that out of character. Right, yeah, see, we're already seeing little... Again, we've talked about this before, and bringing characters that, historically might have a bit more of a douchebag, dickhead personality, very risky.
It's tough.
Very risky, especially if this is a group that you never really played before. You don't have, prior experience and reputation with. It's usually probably not the best idea. I would highly discourage it personally. Like once you build up a little bit more of a rapport with the group, then I would say, yeah, feel free to start, busting out maybe some more asshole or douchey characters. But even then, of course,
Be a douche.
yeah, you have to be careful. You have to have those characters with the explicit intention of having them grow throughout their experience and journey. They can't stay assholes or douchebags. Like maybe and even then you shouldn't probably utilize them as just being so constantly in conflict with the party. Like that's the biggest issue. You can't be in conflict with the party. You have to give every character that you create for a game an actual real reason to be with and work with the party. They cannot be in constant conflict. It just fucks everything up. So don't do it. But continuing on. However, I did question other characters when something didn't sound right, notably a map maker NPC. Walking with a clique of characters who always responded on the same time of the server, they felt tentative to have me around because the Death Cleric did not like my spell casting. I summoned familiars and creatures to fight for my character, which the Death Cleric, who also had a skeleton raised, called having said summons slavery. Pointing out a bit of a typo there, I think, OP. I pointed out that the animated dead saying that they needed to recast or it would become hostile is very different from me summoning because I can dismiss or stop concentrating on, or they can leave after 1 hour has gone by. They did not like that, and this person is non-binary, and started telling their friend group I cannot be trusted. I don't know if that's entirely relevant, the non-binary part, but okay. However, one person saw value. The necromancer girlfriend of said death cleric. My warlock was to help them fend off a vampire lord, so we needed information on the land. The map maker was an NPC. And they said they saw making maps as an art form because maps are never true, only the interpretation of the map maker.
It's an interesting way of looking at maps.
Yeah, I don't know if that's entirely accurate.
I would say if you were an actual cartographer, you might disagree.
Because like literally the whole point of a map is for everyone to be. Anyway, I think he touched upon that. So let's actually just keep reading. So I laughed and asked if all the maps were fiction. Fair question. She said they were not doodles. I had to ask if we needed an interpreter for a map we were given that we would not be able to understand because we weren't cartographers. So what use was the map to us then? All fair questions, in my opinion, very much so. The map maker said to hire them to interpret the map.
Interesting.
And I had to ask if she was the one who made the maps. And she said that she was. So how much would her services be? Well, it would be 15 gold for her maps and then 10 gold to have her interpret them per day.
That's a racket.
Hang on, I think you called it. So I pointed out that the maps that she made needed a cartographer to decipher her interpretation, and that she was the only cartographer in the city and therefore would equal a racket. I still bought the maps because maybe I could compare them with others. Fair enough. So I left the store. The other players were falling over themselves to apologize to the NPC who acted emotionally hurt at my words. I became the bad guy because I ruined their friendship with the map maker. They came to me and said that I could no longer help them with their quest. It became unbearable with all the gossip and cold shoulders, so I said I was walking to the next town by myself. They said that I would die out there, but I ignored their warnings, knowing that I could fully defend myself, unlike the group themselves that woke up together, ate together, and went everywhere together. They never even had a different opinion among themselves. I managed to walk to the next town plagued by bandits without any incident, and I volunteered to find and fight said bandits, feeling exiled from the starting town. Interesting. I mean, again, this is one side of the story, of course, but from what OP has put here, and it seems like they are pretty decently like organized and structuring everything well. They seem to be able to speak relatively well. I don't know if English is their first language or not, because there are a couple of strange sentence structures or maybe typos here or there, but obviously that's, that's neither here nor there at the moment. I still feel like OP is conveying their situation, their opinion, their thoughts quite clearly and well. So, I mean, I don't see how he was being an asshole here for literally calling out this map maker's bull. Like, yeah, all of that shit seems mighty fucking sus to me. Either way, something seems sus lately. Looking real sussy. And not even just that, but I don't even know how exactly they can refer to OP as sexist when he's literally deferring to female opinion over his own. Like sexist towards men, maybe? I don't know. Like, I'm not sure exactly how that works. Anywho, they got a new friend, a rogue, actually. However, this rogue was skittish of undead, and after a few encounters with NPCs that did not go well, her attempt to attack another PC because of how much they called him a threat due to previous interactions, and the skeleton butler was the straw that broke the camel's back. The rogue even felt like they had to apologize to them because the manipulation was just that strong. But they went into hiding, which eventually they were attacked and kidnapped by bandits themselves. I don't know. There's something just about this whole server in general that I don't know about, bro. Play-by-posts are always just so
strange.
That's what's one word for it. I was gonna say kind of clusterfucky might be another one. My character managed to get a whole team together to locate and fight the bandits. Hey, nice. We're making money deals, buying potions, planning. I learned the map that I had was missing 60% of authentic information, which I began to make my own corrections on it with other players filling it in. I liked the change of the new town. I even gave a motivational speech on how we would loot the bandits to fund our shops in this place. So we gathered allies. A grave cleric of Kelemvor came from the first town, also rejected by the Necro team, which included a tiefling sorceress who joined us. Wait, did the Necro team include a tiefling sorcerer? Or I assume so. What, buddy? Yes, I know, right? A lot of just favoritism and exiling and all kinds of kind of bias going on. I know. My cat does not like bias. Or at least racist bias, maybe. Who knows? Sexist bias. All that stuff he's not a fan of because he's also black, so he gets it. Yeah, I know. He gets it, buddy. He gets it. Yeah, it's my nigga right there. It's my nigga.
He's part of the culture.
That's right. He gets it, bro. I mean, hey, he's grown up, man. He's lived it, man. He's been there. All right. So we left to find traces of activity and fight to loot the bandits. Little did I know that the team of friends and lovers had access to high-level mages, PCs of the staff, who could use scry and scried on their missing friend. Somehow, they learned that she was out in the desert. The same desert that the same bandits were marching towards. They picked up the guy who was a threat to them because as a hex clock, I'm not sure what that is.
Hexlock, they meant.
Oh, a hexlock. Okay. Yeah, so he's a warlock and bard, yeah. Or
a hexblade warlock.
What? Why did I just say hexblade?
I don't know.
I'm a little confused. Okay. He could pwn because a hexblade is just a warlock. He could pwn their whole team if they fought him. He happened to be my character's friend. When he learned we were both making scrolls of counterspell.
I'm very confused.
Yeah, I'm a little confused with this at the moment, but so I assume he's basically trying to say that like most of the Necro team or whatever is like they're really weak or something, I guess. And I guess maybe OP's character became friends with the Hexblade or the Hexlock character. When they were both making scrolls of counterspell. Okay. Our encounters, being OP's team, we had 3 large cactus enemies with 15-foot necro damage 15-foot necro. What? 15-foot necro damage, max HP, draining grapple effects with explosive spines when at half HP with explosive deaths, followed by 5 scorpions. I didn't understand all of that, but it sounds like a lot. It sounds intense. Then a pair of statues at the temple site, which attacked with advantage. All our attacks were at disadvantage, and they could also teleport all over the field. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if OP English is OP's first. He's definitely making a lot of weird sentence structure here, so I'm just gonna try and narrate as best as I can. Also, a quicksand trap with a strength check of 15 to escape. We couldn't succeed, not even with the help action. But as soon as the cleric grappled my character to move them from the quicksand, the GM called shenanigans and ended the trap. Yeah, this seems like some DM fuckery to me. The Necro team's encounters, 5 nulls. 3 were weak. 2 had enough HP to survive at least 3 attacks, while each one of that group was over level 5. Our reward, nothing. Their reward, 1,500 gold each and magic items. Wow. Yeah, bro. I mean, I would have called shenanigans against the GM at this point. With no investigation result high enough to decipher the quicksand trap, my only idea was that there had to be another level on the other side to open it, and I would cast Summon Undead to bring the ghostly spirit to go through the door and open the lever. The second group finds us after traveling through the corpses we left behind, and the hex clock gave my genie lock. Yeah,
it's a hex warlock.
Just say okay. Just say Hexblade. Just say Hexblade. And then, then you can say like Genie Lock because it's like a genie. Yes, but just say Hexblade. There's no reason. Hex Clock? So it's not a typo. He keeps saying Hex Clock. So I'm like, what's the clock part? Is he part like a clockwork sorcerer or something?
Time wizard.
He's part Hexblade / clockwork sorcerer, maybe? I don't know. My genie lock, the Arnold / Withers handshake with arm flex. Oh, wait, Arnold / Withers? I know. Yeah, it's the motherfucker. I asked why he was here. We learn about the friend they scared off who got captured for being alone. Ah, my replacement against the vampire lord. Nice. I joke about how the hex clock's back must be hurting for carrying the team out into the desert. He said that it didn't hurt at all because all of them were lightweights. The rest of the crew didn't say anything. So after I refused to open the door for them and said they could beat it, that will save my replacement, I mean their friend, and will send them on their way. The lady necromancer finally apologizes for the shunning and the slander that she sent my way earlier. She also apologized to the grave cleric who was with us, who was pivotal in getting here and fighting all of the creatures. Seeing as how it was okay for all parties present, I summoned the ghostly spirit, pulled the lever on the door, and the temple doors opened. Later, it was apparently stated that the GM only allowed that because everyone was waiting on it, and not that it was actually the way inside. None of us figured out the puzzle. Honestly, I would have just gone with old Pokemon Mystery Dungeon rules and jumped inside the quicksand to see if it was a secret passage. Like, that's what I would have done. No, I'm going to be honest. Maybe my character would have died, but I would have been immediately like, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon rules. And then just
quicksand trap.
Yep, just dove straight in there to an underground like cavern or whatever. But whatever. When we're finally in, we fight 7 special giant scorpions who ambush us, and Team Friendship is freaking out. For our group, it's just business as usual. Hey, your first time, is it? Pairing up in strategies, we save the sorcerer tiefling who flies out to attack the scorpions in melee because she thought it would be a good idea because she has a fancy sword. However, she ends up using repelling blast to blast them away from her, narrowly escaping death. The wizard lady and the death cleric who also began to worry because they had low HP. It was the hardest fight of their life, apparently. For us, it was just a Tuesday. The cheese grater mechanic ate 4 of the 7 up, and the rest was mopped up by the hex and everyone's random attacks with fireballs. Okay. We battle around 12 bandits later and finally find the friend. We take the gold and even get to bathe, and we finally have a short rest for the first time. Team Friendship, on the other hand, had 2 long rests before getting here, but the GM didn't want us to get to the friend before they did. When we learned that the bandit leader is behind a pair of double doors and a super trap that did a lot of fire damage, we made a plan with Team Friendship. Let's kill the bandit captain together. And they all slowly agreed. But the Grave Cleric, out of character, said that the amount of favoritism Team Friendship had been getting was unfair and unbalanced to the GM. And the GM just straight up canceled the quest and sped it to the end because I've grown uncomfortable with the inner conflict, as he says it. I suspect he didn't want the fatal trap to potentially hit Team Friendship. Our characters left on much better terms, or at least so I thought. They apparently were just paying lip service later on for when they were describing how much of an asshole I was. This whole quest took 1 in real life month. I physically aged as combat was 1 round a day for each encounter because the GM was attending the other team. Worst quest I have ever played. I no longer play on that server, and in fact, I play on a different server that had the same concept as that one, but did it 5 times better. I enjoy my time where I'm wanted now. Addendum. Team Friendship also got 2,000 more XP than us individually, despite our encounters being significantly more deadly than theirs, with higher CRs and ambush tactics where they had first surprise rounds for spontaneous ground eruptions with no perception check allowed to detect them. Team Friendship was higher level than ours when they returned. End post. Wow. And honestly, we got reluctant with this one. We got this one literally 7 minutes after it was posted, and there's no comments at all on this one yet.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead and refresh to see. Not even
hell, that was literally just, hi, let's make this uneven.
like straight up there. I mean, it was there is some blatant, just disgusting favoritism going on. Literally, sands of favoritism is right. OP, if you ever see this, I'm just gonna say you have our heartfelt, sincere apologies here at the Arcane Archive for this experience you've gone through. Though, even though I will say, though it's rather a bitter pill, you still seem to pull out quite well. I will say there's maybe a little bit of a I am very badass kind of vibe to it, but even then, if what you're saying is real, you and the rest of your team that you were able to make and create, you guys kicked ass, man. Like you despite all of the GM's shenanigans and chicanery, you guys overcame that shit. And even though, you weren't nearly as rewarded as you should have been, I still feel like, you should hold your heads proud because you didn't have your hands holding. You were there was no babying for you. He threw all kinds of bullshit at you and y'all still overcame and still succeeded. And that in essence, in my opinion, should account for so much more satisfaction than the other team. Like, and honestly, it still goes to show too, you guys could probably wipe the floor with that other team if you wanted to, if you engaged in PvP with them. Who knows? Maybe that team is so, like, I don't know, stupid, mentally messed up, or just straight, possessy behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, that might just be straight possessy behavior going on. Whatever the case may be, whatever the reason is, you guys clearly are the superior team here, and you guys got through all the stuff and survived. And yeah, I'm glad, though, that you decided to dip out and go to a server that actually really does appreciate what you bring to the table. Personally, I did really love your character, and it just goes to show, like, I feel like this was one of the better ways. Like, obviously, I wasn't privy to all of the interactions. Maybe there were some mistakes here or there, but from what you told and from what you laid out, I personally feel like this was a great way to introduce a more, asshole / maybe arrogant / judgmental character, but in a good way, right? I think, at least from what you depicted, I think that you handled yourself perfectly reasonably and well. What do you think of this story, Sammy?
It's just so ridiculously uneven.
We've read a couple of these before. Yeah.
I would not have even gotten a fraction into this as this person had. So, like, I'll give him credit in that sense.
He stuck around. He stuck it out.
Yeah, I would.
At least
I would
for
not.
a time.
Not me. Wouldn't have been me.
Couldn't be me, man.
Couldn't be me, man. Couldn't be me. Yeah, I don't quite understand that aspect of it. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt of, like, yeah, I get wanting to, like, have a good time, but to me, this doesn't seem like a good time either way. good on you for like getting it done, but I would not. You could not convince me to deal with that.
I
Um,
mean, honestly, I'll say my favorite part was absolutely just a verbal evisceration of the map maker's bullshit. Like, I'll be honest, that part was hilarious to me. I respected and appreciated that so much. Just pointing out all of just the clear, like racketeering, like shit, like absolute shady business practices. Just like, and then oh, she acted all emotional, and then the team friendship had to console her. Like, come on, man. Come on, yeah. I don't know. I'm saying I feel like they were just fucking dumbasses. I don't know, bro. They literally all were sharing one brain cell between each other, maybe. That's why they maybe couldn't disagree on anything ever.
yeah. Check out my one collective brain cell.
Literally. Duh. But hey, y'all. Unless you have anything else to say about this one, Sammy, I think we covered it quite in perpetuity. Thank y'all. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one of the day. Sammy,
Yeah,
go ahead and take it
this
away.
one's a bit more lighthearted. I
Mm.
have a 3-day sleepover campaign that is getting ridiculous.
Oh,
I know.
sleepover! Oh, I miss having sleepovers, man. Those were so fun
Yeah,
back in the day.
it can be, or it's not.
Well, nowadays you're always just grown enough to go back home at like 4:30 a.m. in the morning. Actually, I did that one recently, so
Yeah,
hey.
yeah. I 26 male. The other players 28 female, 29 male, are staying at DM 29 male's house for a 3-day and night campaign. It is currently the end of night 2.
Oh, he's still there. Oh shit.
Our DM is a big time war game player, and it became apparent on the first day that he is determined to use every one of his 1,000 minis, terrain pieces, and buildings. We spent about
Buddy.
8 hours playing on day 1, and at least 3 of those were for the DM to change the scene, setting up an entire tavern down to every minor detail, not just the tables, chairs, beds, and people, but the dishes, cups, fireplace, errant ropes, barrels with random detritus. We proceed to immediately leave the tavern after sleeping.
Oh my God! No, not this. Not one of these.
But we couldn't just leave. He had to build the city that we traveled through. Despite me and the players saying it wasn't necessary, he insisted that he was setting the scene for us. It was discussed before bed yesterday that we feel he gets most of his enjoyment from setting up his miniatures. Thankfully, most of the combat has been pre-built and staged on another table, but today we spent hours waiting while the DM set
Of
up multiple
course.
campsites for our traveling as he pranced
Of
animal minis
course.
around and narrated how the squirrels moved and the wolf stalked a deer, etc. One of our players even got to watch the DM act out his tragic backstory, parents being killed by marauders, with minis after building a village for them to die in. At no point was the player allowed to act until the village was on fire and his family and pets were slaughtered.
Jesus Christ.
It has taken so much time that the DM said he would have to cut out the next 4 combats, which have honestly been the most fun. He just narrated us winning them, and the story progressed in a railroad fashion.
No, we've done this before. We've done it.
Then
We've seen this movie before.
then he said that the city we were in was destroyed in one of the battles, but we could help rebuild it. The most fun thing that we had done was when he finally gave us a box of decorations, stalls, and buildings and told us to rebuild the city as we wanted it to look. But we immediately left the city afterwards, never to return. According to him, it will have some effect on the quote final battle. We have been playing for almost 18 hours, and it feels like we've done hardly anything. Tomorrow morning is the final BBEG fight, and the DM spent the last 5 hours setting it up, and us players have just been chatting amongst ourselves and leveling up. It seems
Five
to us it
hours?
seems to us that the story cannot go somewhere that the DM can't build, which makes us feel hesitation to take plot hooks and leave areas because the DM will stop and build more stuff.
Stop letting him do this. He's literally tearing the entire game down by building everything for it.
This has led to the DM blaming our hesitation as the reason why the campaign is dragging and we're not getting to the content he planned for us. We're all really grateful and thankful for the effort he has put in, and we're all close friends. But it just seems like there's no theater of the mind, and everything has to be represented in some sort of miniature on the table. And we had no clue it would be like this. We're all just trying to get through tomorrow, and the players agreed it will be a long time before we do anything like this again.
Jesus.
Update. This morning, we all had a chat about the campaign so far and brought it to the DM's attention that the constant building is more of a hindrance than a necessity.
Thank you. You should have done this way sooner.
He apologized and said that next time he would build more scenes in advance.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, that's fine too. If
We
you want it, just make it
we
in advance.
we reiterated that we're fine to let the narration inform the smaller, less important environments, and perhaps all he needed to do was write a note card for them. He said he'll consider it, but after the reveal of the final battle map today, I'm not so sure. So the reason I picked this one is it is kind of adorable.
It is like
In a
he's
sense,
just
is he's like literally building a world for them.
he's working really hard, and that's amazing. And I get that's why they didn't want to say anything sooner, because he was really putting in extra effort. Like he was giving like 150% here.
Yeah. This is kind of like when you start you start like an Xbox Minecraft server with your younger autistic cousin, and you come
Yeah.
back in 2 weeks and they built like the Parthenon.
It's
Um,
literally the whole world. Or,
yeah,
yeah, like the Pentagon or anything else where you're just
yeah,
like,
and you're
Jesus.
like, dude, I just thought we were gonna like farm some cows and hang out.
Yeah, I thought we were just gonna make like maybe
You've made
like a
this a
little
lot more
town or
high.
a little
You've
village.
made this like a
Yeah.
lot more high stakes than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah. He's trying to undergo like building the Death Star. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, and like the means well. Execution left some to be desired. I love the idea of this, especially
Yes,
as someone who
100%.
wants to have the kind of money to build an entire scene. Like, you go when you watch Critical Role, which I don't do much anymore, but when
I've
Matt
also
has
slowed down a bit
yeah,
too
when
recently.
Matt has the maps that he builds out and it's like really crazy and there's all sorts of miniatures and buildings and crazy cool minis and stuff. Like that's neat. I'd love to do it, but also I'm not going to spend 16 hours
I
before
mean,
every session building out four
I was gonna
different
say, well,
encounters.
the thing too, being though, is like Matt also just genuinely likes doing that. Like he has not only the resources but the time,
Yeah.
as well as it's just a hobby that he does anyway. Like, and I will also say how Critical Role does it is Matt only makes very specific environments for the most part that
Yeah.
he knows could potentially lead to an encounter. Like he does pre-build that shit
There
pretty
are random
often.
encounters that they have, but they're very seldom
Yeah,
not planned in some way.
yeah,
You might have
and
like
most of the time,
one
random
map, three different
encounters.
encounters that
Yeah,
could happen.
most of the time, a random encounter, he doesn't necessarily have like a map for them per se. If it's like a thing that he did not expect them to like start fighting in, it's like yeah, and it also happens too because most of the cast of Critical Role, they're very good at not just throwing a random wrench into shit. Like they very much follow along with the story and a lot of the like determine like okay this is what we are intending to do, we are intending to get into combat here
Yeah.
most of the
We've thought
time.
about this.
Yeah, either that or Matt himself has planned for them to get into combat randomly here, so he knows where combat's going to happen, but the players themselves rarely ever just like initiate that combat themselves, right? So Matt usually has time to plan like what maps he can use and build and create for them so that they do get that extra immersive experience. But here again, one of the biggest parts of that is he pre-builds. He doesn't sit there and have his friends wait literally 5 hours while he's building a thing like that, and then especially if you never ever use it again. Like how can you say like, okay, we're gonna build this thing, we're gonna build this
That's the part
town,
that got me. He
and
spent
then
all
you
this
just
time.
leave never to come back again? It takes you like an hour or five. Oh my
The
God.
tavern is what got me.
The tavern.
He had
Why
the
did you
dishes on the
need the
table and then they
dishes
left.
and the cups? Like, again, I get it. If you like doing that, do it in your own time then. Do it before actual game time and then reveal it like Matt does. Like, hey, check
Or
it out. Check out what I built or what I made. It's a
or
perfect tavern.
similar. Like maybe some of the really big ones, like the really important maps, you can build off screen. Um, but the stuff like the tavern, a campsite, things that aren't quest specific, why don't you have the players do it with
Help,
you?
yeah, you
Because
can
that'd
have
be
them help
fun.
you because
Because
that could maybe be fun
that's
where
like
they set it
Legos.
up. Yeah, it's
That's
like
like
Legos or like
that's like
whatever. Like it
Legos.
could be really fun to join in on that, but you also might be missing out on actual valuable play time by doing that too, in terms of like role play and things like that and narrative progression. So it's like for things like a campsite though, you don't need a campsite unless the GM is actively planning for an encounter to happen. Otherwise, if you're just doing narrative role play, you don't really need a map. You don't need that. It's really not necessary. And I think this guy got real overzealous and he really wanted to make like an immersive world. And I loved it. I love the enthusiasm. I love the intention. But he also, though, I will say it seemed like it was very selfish kind of, because he also wasn't necessarily clocking the responses or the feelings of his players during this either. Like and even now, even when they brought up the fact that they're like, this is kind of like getting in the way, he's still like, well, I'll consider it maybe. Like, because this is clearly more of a him thing. And especially, yeah, to Sammy's point, he didn't invite them to join in on making it. So it's like, the issue being is this is clearly kind of a selfish thing for him. And that's a problem. Like that shows he's not actually doing this for the players. He's doing it for himself.
Well, it's entirely an issue of this is someone who is a war games player. This is not someone who's a D&D player. There are overlaps and there are people who play both and there are people that enjoy both. But this is a whole nother
This is another level. Yeah, he is lost in the sauce right here, bro. For reals. I'm top voted comment, I think, is a great one by Acid Octopus. Kind of love the name actually too. The management of expectations is always important. You should all have a chat when the session is done and discuss what you felt worked and what didn't. Maybe save the wild setups for specific dungeons that the DM knows you'll be exploring for a while and try to have them prepped in advance. It's a tough one as it's clearly something he's passionate about and if done correctly can certainly add to the experience. But it shouldn't lead to hours of waiting only to then immediately leave the area once you start playing. Like I don't know how else. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Like, again, like it's just, I don't know how any GM would have possibly thought that this was a good idea. I just don't. Like, I get it. The theory is great with making the immersion, but doing it in real time, like, what? Did he want his friends to just marvel at his peerless building skills? Like, he's like, I am the architect of this world. Look how well. Look at all the things. Like, why couldn't you just have brought up the finished product immediately? It still would have been impressive and amazing and, immersive and detailed. And it would have been like, wow, that's amazing. Like, why'd you have to literally have them sit there and watch you for hours build this from the ground up, literally? Like, I don't know, man. Again, a bit sussy. A little sussy. Anything else you got to say about this one, buddy?
No, that was all I really had.
I think we've covered this then in its entirety. Let's move on to the next story of the day, y'all. This one is titled "Need Help with a Problematic Couple" by Phobos DM. It's Phoebus, actually. This is a meta discussion, actually. TLDR, the gaming group faces a dilemma involving two newer members, John and Jane, who have disrupted the established dynamic of a long-standing, tightly knit group. The group plays Totentans, which I've never heard of before personally, a deeply emotional and narrative-heavy RPG set in a decaying occult version of St. Petersburg. John exhibits a condescending, know-it-all attitude and a main character syndrome, causing friction with the group. His behavior, both in-game and out-of-game, is seen as disrespectful and socially unaware. Jane prefers straightforward, heroic storytelling and avoids uncomfortable or emotionally charged game scenarios, undermining the group's focus on complex narratives and moral ambiguity. Kind of just seems like maybe, they just aren't really right for the game, maybe, or the group. John's behavior is partly attributed to depression, which the group acknowledges but doesn't see as an excuse for ongoing issues. That is fair and reasonable. Meanwhile, Jane's reluctance to engage with the game's themes has stalled her character's development and disrupted the group's immersion. The group recognizes the need for open conversations to address these issues, or, if no resolution is found, possibly part ways with the pair to preserve the group's harmony and enjoyment. The GM regrets delaying earlier feedback and is determined to handle the situation constructively. Hey friends, we are currently facing a dilemma as a gaming group that has been building up over the last few months and has now reached a point where action has become unavoidable. It concerns a couple, let's call them John and Jane, who joined our group about 6 months ago. Our core group consists of 4 men, 1 woman, and my golden retriever, who is always with us, and as we jokingly say, is our mascot. Ooh, it's adorable. We've been a close-knit group and loyal group of friends for years who see role-playing as more than just a hobby. It's a means for us to tell stories, laugh, cry, and sometimes even challenge ourselves in a safe setting. So, what are we playing? Dance of Death unfolds a world in which loss and emptiness devours souls. We are set in the present day in St. Petersburg, the new capital of Russia. The mysterious disappearance incident has torn Russia apart and the characters as well. From one day to the next, Moscow was deserted, as if all the millions had suddenly disappeared. Marked by depression and trauma, they search for meaning in a St. Petersburg caught between decadent decay and brutal reality. Whether through anger, faith, repression, or destructive hope, they all wrestle with what they have lost. Everyone tries in their own way to somehow heal the hole in their soul caused by the loss of their loved ones, the ignorance of their disappearance, and the end of hope. The players are part of the newly founded Section 13 Department of the Russian Secret Service, whose aim is to investigate the unexplained and preserve the stability of the country. The setting is occult in nature, but low-key supernatural. The focus on realism is much more interesting. So yeah, maybe kind of like Call of Cthulhu a little bit. The narrative role-playing game dispenses with character sheets or systems. Interesting. Decisions are made with a D10 if fate demands it. A maximum of 2 to 3 dice per evening in total. So it's pretty just straight pure roleplay for the most part is what it sounds like. Totentanz is dense, intimate, and emotionally powerful. Inspired by Frank Miller's Sin City. Oh, I love Sin City. Polanski's The Nine Gates and the Hannibal and the Leftovers series. Ooh. It is aimed at players looking for in-depth storytelling. It's not about heroes, but about damaged people searching for their place in a destroyed world. Now, to the introduction of John and Jane. Our dynamic is characterized by a mixture of deep trust and a willingness to tackle uncomfortable subjects, both in and out of game. Respectable. Totentanz, our current setting, is designed to explore moral gray areas, and intense personal conflicts. The themes are complex and require a level of emotional investment from the players that tests not only the characters, but also their own limits. Intriguing. John and Jane initially seemed like an enrichment. Jane is always polite in the OT, brings home-baked cakes, and shows a keen interest in role-playing, even if her involvement has increasingly waned. She also seems to have little interest in our approach and wants to play much more blunt, superficial heroes. John is friendly in the OT, but can't avoid being overly know-it-all in OT discussions and also in the course of the game riiight, which over time has become not only annoying, but downright exhausting. He seems to have a bit of a main character syndrome, so his criticism mainly comes when he doesn't think he's had enough screen time. Causa John. We have a specific problem with John. His behavior at the table is increasingly causing tension. He has a habit of appearing arrogant, even on topics where he clearly lacks knowledge. Now, that might be tolerable in and itself, but the way he corrects others in discussions comes across as disrespectful and patronizing. It gives the impression that he thinks the rest of us are naive or uneducated, an impression that is reinforced by the way he expresses praise or thanks. It seems as if even his positive words are not authentic, but meant ironically or mockingly. That's a problem. A prime example of this was a tabletop game that we played together with the core group. John had been invited to play along, although as a long-term student in his late 30s, he had no money. Out of solidarity, we financed a starter set for him, approximately 200 euros or 250 US dollars, which wasn't a big problem for us as we all work, with the exception of one of our fellow players who was a student and had to cut back for this. We found it irritating and disrespectful that John didn't express any thanks for this, but even commented that he would find other systems more interesting. Well, I would be interested to know if he asked you guys to do this or if you just kind of did it in general, which still doesn't make up for his behavior and not being thankful for it. But Either way, even more serious, however, was the fact that he simply missed half of the planned games, turning up late once and not even canceling the other 2 times. This behavior was increasingly perceived by the group as unreliable and disinterested, a tipping point after which his know-it-all attitude and lack of awareness of social cues finally became a bigger problem. Causa Jane. The problem with Jane is different, but no less difficult. Although she is friendly and committed, she has a fundamentally different approach to role-playing that is difficult to reconcile with our group. Jane tends to completely block out unpleasant or conflict-laden scenes in the game. This is particularly problematic as it means she is constantly pulling herself out of narrative nodes that were designed specifically for her and her character development. Now, in my role as game master, I have developed 4 different story arcs for her alone, all of which she has canceled out with a mixture of passive rejection and deliberate ignoring, an experience I've never had in almost 10 years as a leader. Another obstacle is Jane's black and white thinking. She seems to politically divide the world into clear categories of good and evil, whether due to a lack of knowledge or a conscious decision. She says that she is very woke. Oh no, we do not like when people self-proclaim very wokeness. While moral ambivalence and ironic comments are appreciated and enjoyed in our group, Jane often takes them negatively. Her discomfort with the emotional and conflict-laden game is palpable, which significantly affects both her own enjoyment and the dynamics at the table. Bonus, depression and the question of personal responsibility. Another aspect that continues to complicate the situation is the issue of depression. Jane addressed this issue in relation to John, trying to at least explain his behavior. Whilst I generally sympathize with such challenges, I have had bouts of depression myself. As a matter of fact, I cannot and will not accept this as a universal excuse, which is fair. I say that is reasonable. There is always a line and a point where you have to draw between a person utilizing maybe some mental illness or neurodivergence or issue as a constant excuse to justify negative, toxic, or bad behavior. At some point, you either have to start correcting said bad behavior after been given many or multiple allowances, or it can no longer be used as an excuse or tolerated. Should always be a line. I believe that an illness should never be used as a free pass to avoid responsibility or social consideration. See, that is fair. As someone who has struggled with such phases myself, I have learned not to let an illness dominate me. That is the key word there. My life is full of responsibilities. I am heir to a business with approximately 50 employees, friends, and to many people, or friend and to many people, and also, I think he just meant to say friend to many people, and also dog dad to a wonderful golden retriever. These roles require not only my commitment, but also the ability to pick myself up in difficult moments. Claiming to accept depression as an excuse for everything is not only incomprehensible to me, but also problematic. It may work in other weaker circles of friends, but in our group, which is characterized by a high degree of personal responsibility, such an attitude inevitably leads to tensions. My own omission. The problem of delayed criticism. One point I have to make self-critically is that I withheld criticism from the others for a long time. Our group normally has an open and direct climate, but I had the feeling that Jane and John would not be able to deal well with the confrontational culture we've cultivated here. For this reason, I vetoed when the others wanted to voice their criticism earlier. This veto was a mistake. It did not ease the situation. It only made it worse. Jane and John seem to be used to avoiding conflicts and sidestepping critical issues from their previous circles of friends. However, our dynamic as a group is different, and it would have been better to address this openly earlier. I mean, I gotta say personally, I am so down for that. I'm usually a person who's much more inclined towards direct, active confrontation of an issue or problem so that we can more efficiently, directly resolve and handle it, hopefully. But I know that, that's not exactly how everybody rolls. The current situation and the next step. The rest of the group has now reached a point where patience has run out. This is not about settling scores or wanting to force someone out of the group, but more about the need to maintain our momentum and the fun of the game. Role-playing is a hobby based on mutual trust and respect. It requires everyone involved to be willing to question themselves and their own comfort zone. If this foundation is no longer there, the experience suffers for everyone. John and Jane have both shown characteristics and behaviors that are increasingly a burden on our group. While John isolates himself through his smartassery and lack of awareness of social cues, Jane is so emotionally and content-wise blocked that her participation in the game feels more like a compulsory exercise. Both points are now openly addressed by all the other players, and it is clear that we need to find a solution. So, conclusion. Our situation is difficult, but can it be solved? We will either have clear and open discussions, which will hopefully lead to an improvement, or we will have to part ways with Jane and John if there is no constructive change. As the game leader and the heart of this group, I see it as my responsibility to stop ignoring the problem. I hope that we can find a solution that works for everyone involved, either by adapting or by setting clear boundaries. What do you all think? End post.
A weird one.
What do you think about this one, buddy, right off the bat?
Like, again, I don't know how people deal with these people. Because maybe I'm just so used to, I guess, I'm so used to like trusting implicitly the people that I play with and knowing exactly what I'm going to be dealing with, knowing exactly the people that I'm playing with. And obviously with that comes, issues. But like if someone was doing any of this to this degree, even like a fraction of this degree, the weird main character syndrome stuff is I can't deal with it. I feel like me as a player, I can't. Even if DM or player can't deal with it. And it doesn't help that they chose a setting slash, game itself that has like a lot of very serious topics and things. So now you have some dude who's running around in arguably a narrative heavy, could be emotional situation, just being like, pick me, pick me, pick me. Because if you met this in real life, if you dealt with a person like that in real life, you would punch them in the mouth. But because this is a tight knit group of people who don't want to offend one another or hurt one another, you make it so much worse for everyone around you. And like,
Yeah.
it's hard because like, you could say, oh, just get rid of them. Anytime you have like even and the problem is with couples and things like that where you can't just get rid of one of them. Which makes it
Yeah, it makes it that much more of a heavy decision or move. Like it's,
yeah, I just because this is a game at the end of the day.
it is.
So like if it's that hard to like I don't know, like for me if you're going through this much turmoil to figure out what to do, realistically you could just go back to the group you used to have. Like you're not losing, yeah, you lose 6 months. Okay. Or you could spend another 6 months trying to fix something that might not be fixable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is that worth it? I don't think so. Me personally, no. But I mean, I like that they're talking about, things like trying to talk to them, trying to communicate.
No, I mean, yeah, and I mean, it really depends because obviously, if you never try to fix it, then you would never know, and that's, I think, kind of the issue that OP is trying to say is that like apparently OP is insinuating that both John and Jane might have a proclivity towards avoidance of any kind of confrontation about things, especially maybe even Jane, and maybe both of them even then, because maybe John does it in terms of defense mechanism of, being kind of always sarcastic, dismissive, and whatever. And Jane kind of just wants to maybe just be more, maybe not brain dead, but just like very clearly not really have to think very hard about, like OP says, any more complex or morally ambiguous like situations or moments and things, and just kind of wants to be like, this is clearly bad and this is clearly good, and I want to be good and to fight the bad, which sometimes that's okay. That's
Sometimes
okay. Sometimes, like, and again, because I also agree because I will say like right off the bat, one thing I will say about an OP, I right off the bat, I'm gonna say like I loved how you structured everything
Oh
here.
yeah.
It was all very organized, very well executed and efficient. Like I really did appreciate that. Like you clearly have a quite the vast vocabulary and quite the punction for amazing diction. I'll give that to you, and I respect and relate to that personally. Um, I will say though, like at the same token though, in regards, like I would just like to ask some questions, like for one, like you seem to always want to like put in like, oh, this is a game about very constant, complex, emotionally driven, deeply emotional and driven narrative heavy RPG in a very kind of grim dark esque world, which is nice. But I would also like to ask is there no room at any point for maybe just like a pretty you know clear, clean cut, this is good, this is bad, we're doing something good, we're doing something bad. Like, is there no real room for maybe some more black and white kind of aspects? And this is coming from me, who I am personally all about the shades of gray. But I also do understand maybe at some points you do also just want to be like, because I've also been in many campaigns or games where GMs are always constantly trying to like do the rug pull thing, right? Where they're always constantly trying to be like, oh, your expectations were subverted because you thought this was bad, but it turns out he may have actually been a good guy. Or maybe your actions weren't actually as good as you thought because I did the gotcha moment and I switched it up on you, and this actually has consequences that you thought were good, but actually might be more bad. And it's like, okay, look, I think we talked about this before a couple of times. Like, if you're gonna try and pull the gotcha rug pull, oh, your actions have consequences and maybe you shouldn't just blindly, like, that's all good, well and good, but you need to earn it. If you really want that to be a thing that really imposes the right like moral and the right lesson and the right like narrative hit, you have to build it up, because you cannot just then arbitrarily or like really cheaply try to throw that in, because then it feels unearned. And in my opinion, anyway, to me it always makes me feel like it's unearned, like you just pulled that shit out of your ass in order to try to make your story seem oh so more complex and sophisticated, which it didn't. It just made it seem dumber, because it seemed like you basically just try to screw the party over
Yeah.
in an attempt to make your story, or even just maybe just out of spite for them, or maybe just to fuck with them, which is not fun in my opinion. It's like if you want there to be like unforeseen consequences and for things to be less black and white, that's great. I'm all for it. But that type of thing you do kind of have to preface and foreshadow a bit, and it's a very difficult thing to do. It's not easy. It's hard to be able to toe the line and to really delicately put in, again, without maybe a player or a character maybe even realizing the truth of what it is. Of like, wait a minute, like this seems questionable. Maybe we shouldn't just assume or jump in here. And so that's kind of what I would like to ask you, OP, if you ever see this, is like, I understand how Jane, again, going against the grain and kind of, conflicting with the party can be problematic. But at the same token, like you said, that you made like 4 separate, story beats or narratives for her to explore. Well, okay, but did you do that with her in mind? Like, did you take into account the character that she did want to play and who she wanted to be and what she wanted to do? And because I get, again, maybe that her idea and concept is literally contrast to the whole vibe of the story or the game itself. But then I guess I would also ask, like, did you okay her character? Did you have a session 0 with her and explain how this world works? And
Talk
did
about
you
any of it?
did you okay like what she like? And I would assume, based off of how organized you are, at least here, I would assume you did. And so then you okayed her character. And if that's the case, like, again, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with introducing like for a character. I think it is also important that they are able to more like tie their character to the world at hand, right? You lived in this world, meaning that your character should have certain sensibilities or understandings and behavioral, mannerisms and things based off of your experiences of the world. Like, and that is definitely important, because I've had people who've done that before, who've rejected that before, where they'll make a character that's like, they're kind of acting like completely illogically or unreasonably, and you can do that, but then you have to be at least acknowledging that your character is illogical and unreasonable based off of the experiences that they would have had up to this point, like, and how the world is. So I mean, I would be interested kind of to know, and I definitely, though, I 100% support you saying yes, you should talk to them and have, like, just an upfront discussion about, hey, this is kind of the way that we've all been feeling about the game and about, like, how you guys have been kind of playing in here. It's still kind of causing friction and problems, and we're hoping that there might be like a bit of a change or a shift. We enjoy playing with you guys, man. I mean, I would ask OP, like, do you enjoy playing with them? Like, when they're not causing problems? Like, why? Biggest thing I would like to ask is why, like, if you want to keep them around, I assume that means you like playing with them when they're not kind of in these places. But you didn't actually really give any, like, you only said, that they're nice, that they're nice people kind of out of game. Which
is not really enough of a reason to play with people.
Not always, unfortunately. No, we have talked about this before, that just because they might be a super cool person out of game, that unfortunately doesn't always translate in game for whatever reason. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I don't have the answer for that. It still boggles my mind today as well, but it is the truth. It is an absolute truth, where some people, for whatever reason, TTRPGs just bring out the worst in them, and they're just not really able to function well with the expectations of how you kind of should be in a TTRPG game.
Very true.
And that's, it's sad when that happens, but it's a reality that if you ever really want to keep having, the best of time, especially if OP, who keeps kind of referring to themselves as like the leader and the heart of their group, which is a little, again, OP may come across a little self-righteous or a little arrogant, but at the same time,
I'm also a bit, there's a bit of like a icky feeling the way they talk about depression.
Well,
for me at least, like, I know it's not a
yeah,
blanket coverage for doing whatever you're gonna do, but saying that, oh well, I've been depressed before, it's not necessarily the same thing.
No, not everyone's depression isn't necessarily always the same, but
no. And assuming that just because you were able to deal with it, accepting this, it's not saying that you have to continue to interact with the person. That's not what I'm trying to say.
I was gonna say, I think maybe that's what OP is trying to get at, is like, if they want to continue, like, which I think is fair in terms of, yeah, if a person wants to continue to interact or engage in a group, and if their personal mental state is conflicting or causing issues or problems, then they either do need to, find a way to manage that better, or they might need to just disconnect for a while until they can. Because it's also not fair for a person whose mental state is affecting other people too now. Like, it'd be one thing if you were just dealing with that shit yourself and you weren't actually necessarily projecting it or affecting other people, but people can only accommodate so much before it then becomes a real problem and issue. And I know a lot of people find that hard to accept and acknowledge, but that is the factual truth. Like, at the end of the day, you do need to be able to take care of yourself first and foremost before you can even think about trying to help anybody else. Like that. That's how it should be. It's not out of being selfish or arrogant or inconsiderate or dismissive or whatever. It's the best, healthiest way to do something. If you really want to help someone, you need to be able to help yourself first.
Yeah.
And, just don't be a self-righteous, self-absorbed dick about it. That's all it is. Like, and in this case, like, if John is basically being he's being an asshole. Like, he's not even just kind of just keeping it to himself. He's just being a dick, apparently. Like, he's being condescending, sarcastic, know-it-all, even apparently maybe kind of like, what's the opposite of a compliment? When you what's that, Sam? What's the opposite of a compliment? What's the word when you're insulting? And maybe even insulting to the other players. It's like, you can't. Yeah, you can't just say, "Well, I'm depressed, so I get to do that." Like, that's, you need to be able to acknowledge, like, I'm sorry, because again, you and I have both been there too. I'm genetically predisposed to being depressed. Like it's just chemicals in my brain sometimes that fucking hit me out of nowhere for no reason. I fall into that pit a little bit. But I always do my best, similarly to how OP kind of says here. Like, I don't know exactly to what extent his depression or his mental states and stuff is, but I do agree with it. Where it's like, you to a certain extent, you do have to take there is a bit of responsibility that must be taken for yourself, even if it is
Yeah.
some stuff like you do at least need to be able to acknowledge this is not okay. Just because you're depressed, it doesn't make your behavior okay. There is a reason for it, hopefully, at least. I hope that it's a real reason. You're not just using it, right? Because people do that too, where they lie. But hopefully, yeah, you're depressed and so you react to shit, maybe more whatever, but that doesn't make it okay. Just because you might have a reason for why you do what you do, that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make the thing you're doing okay. That's the biggest issue and problem. Like you need to be able to still acknowledge that. Yeah, you have a reason for it. That's good. And there should be allowances and there should be understanding and consideration and empathy for that.
Yeah.
But at the same token, that person, if you really need to earn that, you need to be able to acknowledge that, yeah, that this is me. This is a thing that I'm doing and it's not necessarily okay. And I'm working on it. I am actively trying to work on it. Because if you're not actively trying to work on it or get better, then what does that say?
What are you doing?
Yeah, well, then what does that say? Then that means that apparently you're just fucking around. Then is what that says. Like you want this excuse. You're just using it as an excuse to be an asshole, which then makes you an actual asshole.
Yeah.
You have lost the right to have the empathy and the consideration and the respect then, because you're not actually trying to do anything about it. You're just leaving it and you're just using it as an excuse or a crutch to justify you acting however you want to act, even if it's being harmful, toxic, or shitty to other people. And that's not okay. If they don't deserve it, then you don't deserve, regardless of what your mental or current thing is, to do that to them. That's not okay. Yeah. But overall, I think we probably covered about everything we can here with this. Like OP really just laid it out pretty clear. And I think people in the comments say it best where, it's like, you just have a conversation with them. Yeah. I mean, you guys already seem to know what you're going to do. Like you got to just, I definitely think that, your situation can be solved. Although I will say we don't really know much about how much you guys like John and Jane is the thing, right? We don't know much about like, how close you guys really are or your backstory or like outside of the game. You said that they've been with you for 6 months now, and that's a decently long time. But
yeah,
who knows how willing they are to be open to doing such a thing. Like again, if Jane literally calls herself like if she literally self-proclaims herself to be super woke or really woke, that seems like a bit of a red flag in my opinion. Like I've like anyone who is actually quote unquote woke, you don't really need to say that you don't need to say that you're woke. Like it's rather cringy and kind of it's weird for a person to claim that like I am very woke. Like it's like that's weird. I feel like
sounds
that's
like you only really want to be woke for the points and
yeah,
attention. That
yeah. Or again, I feel like it's literally that it literally contradicts the whole point of the whole aspect of being woke. To claim that you are woke, it's like that's yeah. But either way, you know what?
Okay.
Yeah, like
cool.
Yeah, good for you. You want a brownie? You want a gold star? Like what? Whatever. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next story of the day. Sammy, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I have another one. DM disrespects everyone's time. I joined one of those D&D Discord servers where you make a character to get approved to do quests. DMs create one-shot quests that are all set in the same world, and users can apply to join them. I'd rather join a full-on campaign, but I couldn't find any that fit my schedule, so this would have to do. This is a play by post, unfortunately. Someone posted a quest where you had to escort merchants to deliver a mysterious package. And I thought that was pretty interesting, so I joined.
Sure.
That was the very first quest I joined. The quest was play by post instead of voice chat. The quest was scheduled to go on for 4 hours, and it started with the usual tavern setting. Ooh, fuck. I should have slept more. where is it? We introduced our characters and all that, but it nearly took 2 hours to actually leave the tavern because the DM was eager to teach all the new guys uh, how to play D&D through play-by-post, no less, which sounds excruciatingly terrible.
Yeah.
I went on a bunch of tangents to show them how to play. That's not where the issues really lied, however. On the 2 hour mark, the DM announced a 5+ minute break after we leave the tavern. All right, cool, I thought. This won't take that long. I was patiently waiting for the DM to announce the end of the break, but it never came. About 15 minutes or so after the break started, someone in our party asked when we were going to start again. The DM said they are making food, so it would be another half hour to finish and eat. At that point, I figured the break was going to take long, so I decided to make food for myself as well. Oh, this is starting to get fantastic.
Isn't it though? All
Yeah,
right.
I brought my phone up to the kitchen with me just in case the break ended before I finished, which is, nice thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. I'm
Nice.
down for that. I mean, you can, you can multitask, sure.
Um,
Like the
I
dedication.
managed to cook a whole pot of Alfredo and eat it before the end of the break. I casually mentioned in the chat as a playful jab at the DM for taking so long, and they said they were making stew and rice. I don't cook much, but that sounds like it takes ages to make for what's supposed to be a short break. Remember, their words were 5+ minutes, which is technically true, but incredibly misleading.
Yeah. Well, if you say 5+ minutes, usually the plus is assumed to be like at most another 5, maybe, if not just like 2 to 3 extra minutes. Like that's you can't say
Yeah.
5+ minutes and then expect people to believe that you're talking about like a 30-minute break or some shit. Like that's
Nope,
not
not fair.
no.
Um, at this point, we're starting to get antsy to play again. This was my first quest, so I was trying to be patient and respectful, which is really cool. Um, one player who I'll call Gary says we should start playing again, saying it's okay to go slow as long as we at least start. The DM says I can't. I'm with my mom and she's ill.
What the fuck are we talking?
Keep in mind, they
What?
did not bring up their mother at all until now. Like, I'm sorry about your mom, but bringing this up now makes it feel like you're guilt tripping us.
And then why did you do it tonight when she
So
was
everyone pretty much said, all right, I understand, I guess, and continued waiting. I got to the point where another player, Greg, can't stay, so the DM offers to repost the quest the next day at the same time and give priority to everyone who is in this quest. So come next day, when it's time to do the quest, we find out that the DM is already doing another one with another party and won't be done for another 4 hours.
Jesus Christ?
After that, I just told them not to ping me. I don't want to play the quest anymore, and everyone else either did the same thing or just couldn't make it. Later, an argument broke out between the DM, Gary, and Greg. I don't remember the specifics of the argument since the DM deleted the quest post, likely to cover his behind. But it boiled down to Gary and Greg telling them off for disrespecting our time like that. And the DM pretty much admitting that they did not care.
Huh. Yep. Clearly,
Yep.
clearly not. Clearly not.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Um, as I was writing this post, I went back to search for the messages on Discord. Come to find out that the DM is no longer in the server. My guess is
Wow.
they were kicked or banned by an
Shocker.
admin for screwing up like this and trying to brush under the rug. TLDR,
Shocker.
DM disrespected my time by dragging a 5-minute break into rescheduling the whole quest and gave zero heads up as to why they were going to take so long until someone asked why.
Wow.
Oh, people are funny.
That
People are very
I
funny.
just Sammy, I just don't know what people think. Like what goes through people's minds? Anything? Does anything go through people's minds or is it just like
No.
a vacant hallway? Just a long vacant hallway or highway with just no traffic whatsoever. There's literally none. It's barren. It's absolutely barren. Jesus Christ. This shit just always gets me, especially even worse, just the sheer disrespect and disregard. Like, here's the thing: if your mom is ill and she's sick, and you need to be there for her, great, awesome. I will 100% always respect and appreciate that. Yes, go take care of your business. This is a game and a hobby that we're playing. However, that's also, I feel like it's disrespectful to his mom as well. It's like you're gonna put on a D&D game when apparently you're supposed to be having the responsibility of taking care of her right now. What are you doing? This is disrespectful to everybody, bro. Take care of your business. Don't start trying to do some shit when you got some other important shit that you gotta take care of. What are you doing?
Take care of your moms, bro. That's weird.
And then when you don't, you're like, okay, well, I can reschedule for next time for tomorrow. And then you don't even do that. Like that is just clear disrespect, literally disrespect. Not even disrespect. Like that you're just taking a shit in the players' mouths at that point, bro. Like what the fuck are we doing? You literally
Yeah.
schedule it for tomorrow, but you're doing a different quest for a different party. And you're not gonna be done for 4 hours. Like this guy either. And you know what? I get it. Some people are just absolutely horrendous with time management and responsibility, and they completely forget about other things that they did previously. But in today's age, where you can literally have a VI like freaking set your schedule for you, you can literally just ask them like, "Hey, set my schedule for whatever the hell," or for do this, or just voice recording, or just put it in your phone yourself. You have a computer, a supercomputer in the palm of your hand that you can literally start scheduling out your entire life as much as you want. Like there just is no real excuse anymore.
Nope.
There just isn't. You have far too many tools at your disposal to help make that process so much easier, efficient, and accessible. There's just no excuse for it anymore. And I just can't understand. I can't understand how people cannot get their shit together to be on time for shit, to fucking, be consistent, to be able to be communicative, to any of that. There's just God, I hate it. I hate it. It just fucks me up so much. Anything else you got to say about this one, bud?
No, this one frustrated the shit out of me because if someone did that, I would just absolutely lose
Just
my mind.
driving up a wall, like Jesus.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, I'm done with this.
And they were. They got out of there quick. Good for you, OP, as you should have. This was a complete waste of everyone's time. But yeah, with that, let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next one of the day. Again, the next ones we have for you are going to be relatively short ones, but they're interesting in our opinion. This one is titled, Does My GM Hate My Characters? By I Don't Exist, 1923. So I play a 5e campaign, and I played a wizard, fighter, and now a cleric. And when I announced I was playing a wizard, divination, my GM groaned and asked if I shouldn't, and I asked if I shouldn't play him. But the GM said that it was fine. But after I ended up taking the lucky feat, and you misspelled feat, OP. Yes, I'm a power building gremlin. He looked sad. But in the next tavern, when we were drunk, an assassin ended up bearing a dagger into my level 3 character, and I was instantly dead.
Awesome.
After that, I decided to play a Cavalier Fighter and protect the squishy spellcasters, and that allowed the Barbarian to go ham instead of protecting them. But my GM kept getting mad at my constant thwarting of the sneaky enemies, and lo and behold, the next fight we had, I fell into a valley. I don't know if, maybe... Anyway, valley, and separated from my party. A troll ended up killing my level 5 character because I was already at low HP. Okay. Cool. Tight. And now I play a Grave Domain Cleric, which took the Barbarian's high damage and can now double that damage for one attack at least. But I'm starting to think that the 3 assassins that were in the tavern were supposed to kill me as well, but did not after a clutch level 6 fireball from the wizard brought them down low enough for us to take them down. Now I know that the GM is definitely targeting me, but it might be my fault because, as I previously said, I'm a power gaming gremlin and my characters might have been too strong and the deaths might have been necessary for us to stop steamrolling the encounters. End post. So what do you think about this right off the bat, buddy?
So, I got 2 things.
Only
yes.
2. All right.
Yes, your DM doesn't like your characters. 100%. That's
Clearly,
100%.
it's
That's
very
100%
clear.
the issue here. Which I guess is fine.
Eh,
Not everybody's gonna like the things you bring to the table.
true.
I mean, yeah, you're being targeted. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. A random assassin literally just executes your level 3 character, and then 3 more assassins show up in the tavern for like, why do you have so many assassins coming after you? Like,
Where
are
are the
you
assassins from?
like why? Like what's like you guys are only level 3 first, and now I think you're at most level 6. So what have you pissed off some kind of super like have you pissed off a thieves guild? An assassin's guild? Like what why are they sending people specifically to kill you guys? Like this what have you done up to this point? I don't know.
What did you do?
Like again, and I get like I don't know. Like he says he's a power gaming gremlin, which maybe yeah, like divination, who then also takes lucky. Yeah, there's some room for that to maybe be a bit problematic here or there. I again, though, I will always say, you guys know me, I will 100% always advocate for the lucky feat, especially now in 2024 edition. They changed lucky feat a little bit, and now instead of it being like you can roll like after it or whatever, you just basically just re-roll the dice that you rolled. You basically just spend a lucky point to get advantage on any roll you choose.
Which is pretty much how luck worked before.
Yeah, basically. Except I think, technically I think you're supposed to use luck before you roll. I don't think you can
No,
technically
you
do
can
it.
do it whenever, I believe.
Are you sure? I don't
Well,
know.
they can't. You can't. They can't tell you if it succeeds or not. So like you have to do it before you're told if it hits or succeeds. But if you roll
Okay.
bad, you can go, I want to use luck, because it's pretty
Yeah.
evident most of the time in a game whether or not you
Da, da,
know.
da, 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 point. It says when you roll, so it says basically when you roll a d20 for a d20 test, you can spend 1 luck point to give yourself advantage on the roll.
That's
So
the
it
new one.
doesn't, yeah, that's the new one. So it doesn't specifically say that you can do it before or after the roll, technically speaking. So I
But it
guess,
does say when you make the roll. So when you do the roll,
yeah.
that's when you have to choose.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like it says when you roll a d20 for a d20 test, so it's like when you're doing that,
Hmm.
you can spend a luck point to give yourself advantage on the roll. So I mean, again, it doesn't it doesn't specifically
Hmm.
stipulate whether it's before or after. It says when you roll. So I mean that by the way that it's going, it looks like it's basically saying
Well,
that, you
the
should do it
original,
before because
yeah.
advantage, yeah, the original one is different.
When you have 3 luck points. Whenever you make an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can spend 1 luck point to roll an additional d20.
See,
You can
yeah.
choose to spend one of your luck points after you roll the die, but before the outcome is determined.
Yep.
You choose which of the d20s is used in the attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can also spend 1 luck point when an attack roll is made against you. Roll a d20, then
Yeah,
choose
you
whether
can
the
still do
attack.
that with the new one too.
Yeah.
It's just disadvantage. It's just they just changed the more specifics of the old one where it was a little bit more not necessarily ambiguous, but more free form in a sense on like you could choose before or after you roll. You could also choose, to choose which die you take away or replace. Now it's literally just being like you can choose to give yourself advantage and an enemy disadvantage on a D20 test
Yeah.
or an attack roll against you with the disadvantage. So again, with how they phrased it, it seems more like the intention is that you're supposed to do it before you roll because that's what gives you advantage. That's normally how advantage works.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't see any reason why you technically can't still use it the same way in terms of like you roll as long as they don't know the outcome. You can say, you know what, I'm just going to spend a luck point to roll another d20 so I get advantage. And I can just take the higher of the 2 rolls. So either way, in my opinion, for either of those, still technically speaking, because even the old lucky, you could only ever use 1 luck point per roll. You couldn't just keep using lucky. You couldn't just keep spending all 3 of your luck points. I will also say the one thing that they did increase with the new lucky, you get as many luck points now as your proficiency bonus. So you could get up to 6 total at like max level. So you get 6 luck points. Whereas before you could only have a max of 3 per long rest. But lucky, in my opinion, is not busted or broken at all because it still majorly relies on a person's luck with the dice. And you can only roll once. You can only spend 1 luck point per roll. You can't, and a lot of people I know abuse that, and people didn't look it up or pay attention to that's technically how it's supposed to work. But whatever. That's why a lot of people I think hate lucky, and I think it's not earned. I think it's unfair because the actual thing is you literally just roll 1 more dice. That's it. That's all that happens. You just get one more chance, one more dice roll. You don't get to roll 3 more times potentially. You don't get to roll lucky and then re-roll at advantage. No, if you roll with advantage, you just simply take one of the dice to basically re-roll and replace. That's it. You just roll one extra die. It's always just one more dice. That's it. It's not that bad. It's really not. Because especially you can still roll advantage and roll 2 fucking ones or whatever. I saw that recently, literally. Like, it really isn't that busted. And so clearly though, the GM is one of those people who has an aversion to lucky. I will say Divination Wizard can also be pretty busted at times, not always. But they are definitely one of the more, meta wizard classes because you can start fucking with other people's rolls or your own rolls, and you can mess with fate a little bit and shit. But
yeah. I mean, that's why you play Halfling.
Yeah.
Divination Wizard with the lucky feat.
I don't know if you can take lucky with Halfling, actually.
Yeah, you can. Halfling luck
and
lucky.
Maybe you can. Yeah,
you take both. You can. There's no reason why you won't be able to.
True. You just become the luckiest motherfucker everywhere. You just don't fail any rolls. You just don't fail any rolls. And you specifically become either a bard or a rogue, so even when you roll low, it's always a 10. It's always
full
a 10.
Wizard all the way. You're super paranoid, and all you do is just you cast things so people can't scry on you. You turn yourself invisible during combat, so no one ever knows where you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's a really good It's a good character that definitely won't cause problems in your game because you're just not doing anything except being terrified of everyone. And that's why I want to play one, but my DM sucks and he won't let me do it.
Yes, I'm sure you would not abuse that in any way, shape, or form whatsoever.
Never. I think, look, I know what it says underneath my visage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just not accurate to what I think I'm trying to bring to the table.
Clearly, yeah, no, for sure, absolutely, 100%. We all believe you, bud. We all believe you. Yes, 100%. That is the face of an innocent man, if there ever was one. I will say one last thing for this one. I think the top voted comment is pretty right on the money. The biggest aspect of this, I think, is important to say. A good GM doesn't keep repeatedly killing you for having strong characters. They either up their enemies to match your game or talk to you about not min-maxing to the detriment of their and other players' enjoyment. I'd talk to your GM and ask them to communicate directly with you instead of repeatedly killing your characters in a clearly targeted, unavoidable manner. And if they don't do so, stop playing with them.
I feel like it's not that bad. Like, no offense, but having a strong person at your table allows you to throw cool shit at the party.
That's how I feel. I am the type of person where, like,
it's only bad when other players feel like shit because one person is the only effective one. That's the problem with strong. It's not to the DM's detriment. It's to the other player's detriment if one guy
sometimes.
If one guy at your table is so astronomically more powerful than everyone else, it sucks. It feels like shit. Because it feels like, well, whenever he does it, it works. And when I do it, I'm garbage.
Well, but see, that also is different, too, because it depends, right? Because it's like, it also depends on how, like we could say it's like the Superman syndrome problem, right? Where if you have a strong character, but if you give the opportunity for other players and characters to shine, like you're not utilizing your character to like their fullest extent, like almost, or maybe not even Superman, where it's like, Superman is always holding himself back to not potentially instantly destroy the planet with like a punch or his laser vision or whatever else. Or if he's just fighting, even if they aren't like dark side level threats, they're even just like, freaking Metallo or whatever. Who's, he's only really a threat to Superman because he has, kryptonite inside of him that he uses to weaken him. But if he was just Metallo without kryptonite, he wouldn't be a real threat to Superman. Superman would just rip him apart if he wanted to. But if Superman always holds himself back, he places those mental barriers or whatever, at least that's how they always explain it, in his mind, so that he isn't automatically like just absolutely pulverizing a person into, paste with a single hit. So it's like, it's the same thing here, where it's like, you might have a super powerful character, but you don't necessarily need to always constantly go full ham on every encounter, right? You can ease back a bit. You can use a couple of your abilities and your stuff, but you don't need to go full power Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan whatever for every single fight. Like it's, because it's not this, we're not doing DBZ power scaling here or DBS power scaling where nothing makes any goddamn fucking sense anymore. It's like you're trying to balance out the party fairly and reasonably. And so it's like, hey, yeah, it does, however, what is really cool about that, though, is it does give maybe your party the opportunity to be a little bit more adventurous or a little bit more risky, right? Because you can go into situations and things because hey, at least one of you, if not two of you, you got they're really fucking powerful. And if necessary, we can pull out some shit to help us get out of a bad situation. You ain't got to go full tilt right away, but you got that shit in your back pocket and you're ready to bust it out if shit starts to get a little crazy or a little too close for comfort. So I think that's a great way to play.
It also allows someone else at the table to actually play a viable support character.
Exactly. That too. You allow other people to also still shine and do their thing and do cool shit. Because it shouldn't be about comparing the two, right? It shouldn't be about oh, hey, he's really powerful, but just because I'm not as powerful as him, that means that I suck or I have a bad time. It's like, no, maybe you aren't as directly powerful as him in a specific way, like damage-wise. But you can still be just as skillful, effective, and amazing in your own way. That's the whole point of the different classes, right?
Yeah.
A bard is never, ever going to output the damage that a paladin or even a rogue can, potentially, right? At higher levels. It's just not going to happen. Bards aren't built for that. That's not their thing. And if you're playing a bard, and I think we literally read a story about this where a dude is trying to play a bard as a fucking wizard or whatever, you're never going to feel that satisfaction anyway. It's not about the other player. No. Your character just isn't for that. And you're just playing, I guess, maybe the wrong class, maybe. And so you should switch that up. Either way. For here, in my opinion, no. Never just bullshit kill a character unless they are unless they are pulling bullshit in the game that's being a problem, right? Unless they're murder, hobo, serial killer, degenerate fucks out the wazoo. Then you can just, pull some bullshit and say yeah, you get pincushioned by a ton of random arrows and bolts out of the darkness that you can't react to. You're dead. Go away. But if they're just playing a powerful character, yeah, go away. You're gone. Go away now. If they're just playing a powerful character, no, you don't get to just arbitrarily and just they're I don't like that character, so you're done. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Especially, not even just lazy, but especially when the GM is literally saying, it's fine. He literally groaned. He's no, it's fine. Nigga, don't say it's fine with you if it's not fine. I will also say I am never a fan or a subscriber to the notion of banning classes or spells. The only thing I think I would ever ban would be the Feat Sentinel. I think that's the only thing I would ever ban in any of my games is the Feat Sentinel, because it's the only feature, it's the only ability that I look at that makes no sense, where it's completely illogical and unreasonable. It's just a completely illogical and unreasonable thing. And now in the new 2024 edition, there's not really even a way to counter it. You can at least counter it in the old edition with mobile, but you can't even do that anymore because they got rid of mobile. They changed it. And so you can't even do that now. So it's there's literally no way to counter Sentinel anymore. That is the only thing that I think I will ever ban in my games is Sentinel. But other than that, bring it. Do your thing, because like Sammy said, the stronger you guys are, the cooler you guys are, the cooler shit, the stronger shit I can throw at you. I want to be able to use that badass shit. I want to throw an ancient dragon. I want to maybe be able to use a demon lord or an archduke or whatever. Come on. Let's get these let's do this shit. Let me throw a solar at you guys real quick and not have you die in 3 seconds. Let's go, bro. Come on. I guess that's also part because I like higher level D&D. I'm tired of low level shit, bro. I don't want to do low level shit, bro. I want that high level shit. You want the options, the powers, the abilities, come on, bro. Let's go, people. Enough with this Paducey ass shit, bro. Come on, bro.
Yeah, me
Let's
sitting here as an avid
go.
lover of low level
I
D&D.
know. I'm like, higher shit. Let's go, bro.
More
Level 10,
numbers.
level 10, level 13. Let's get to 20 eventually. Maybe not right away. Give us some time to breathe, but come
Yeah, give me like
on.
3 weeks at least.
Yeah, at least.
That's a really short campaign. It's a month. Every other we play a session every other day, and every two sessions we level up.
Yep. Hey, I would love that. I would still take that. Because then
I
it'd
don't
be
even
like,
know how
yeah,
you tell it.
let's keep playing the game at level 20, bro. We should have sessions at level 20, bro. Let's go.
I
Epic
don't.
campaign. I
Yeah,
have
to
a
be
book
fair.
literally that takes us beyond level 20. I want to do that shit. Let's get the epic level campaign going.
Nah.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes. Yes. I demand
I finally,
it.
for the first time ever, I have a au naturel level 19 character.
That's amazing. Good for
Um,
you, buddy. I
and
miss those days.
we all voted. We all voted that after the final battle, we're going back to level 1.
Jesus
Every
Christ.
single one of us was like, "Yeah, dude, no, I want to go. We're going to Eberron. Fuck this."
Nah, dude, fuck that. I
New
will
characters,
never,
new
I will
story.
never. I'm fine with the new characters, new story, because after you get yeah, ending it is great. I'm
Oh.
all about ending it on a high note.
It's not just
I will
that.
I never want to go back to level 1 ever.
We all have like
level
three
3
characters each too. They're all
level
level
3
19.
at the lowest. Level 3 at the lowest.
We're literally doing session 1 at level 1, and then we level up at the end of session 1. He just wants us to. He wants it to start at level 1. I was like, you can do whatever you want, man. I'm like, fuck, start us as farmers. I don't give a fuck.
I've done that before. No, bro, I'm tired of that, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Level 3 or 5. Either of those two, bro, because I'm tired. Like I don't have any desire to go any lower than level 3 at any fucking
level
point
2
ever again. No, I said no lower than level 3. No lower than level 3 ever again.
Hear me out.
Level 3 at the lowest. Level 5 ideally we start at.
Hear
bro.
me
Just
out.
give me my multi attack right away.
Level 1.5.
No, fuck that shit. What the fuck is 1.5? You're just level 1 then and halfway to 2. What?
Yeah, that's level 1.75.
Absolutely. That's still just level 1. You're still just level 1.
Well, some games should start at level 1.
Not like what? What game should start at level 1? Like realistically, reasonably.
Out of the abyss.
No, you should start at level out of the abyss. Are you kidding me?
I started with level 2.
You're in the fucking Underdark.
Level 2,
you
baby.
Absolutely start at level 3 and out of the abyss.
Level 2.
Level 3. Level 3 or nothing.
Started at level 2 because it was so they didn't try to kill anybody because they're just getting massacred.
Oh, yeah. You can't
That's
kill
how
anyone.
it's supposed to be.
If you are trapped and caged, they took away your weapons and gear. You can't kill anybody easily, even if you are level 3.
That's why
your level has nothing. Level has nothing to do with it, Sammy. Again, there is literally no mechanical or logical or reasonable reason to not just start at level 4, technically speaking. Because level 4, all level 4 is it's just level 3, but with the extra ability score improvement at that point. Like that's it. You just get the ability score improvement. That's it. So there's literally no actual mechanical reason to start lower than level 4. Technically speaking,
the reason I like it is because you actually have to think about what you're gonna do. It's not
really because you level 1, level 2, and then you already know what subclass you're gonna choose before you even really play the game, most likely. Anyway,
no,
yeah, because then again, if you start at level 3 or level 4, you get to choose that subclass right away, play it, see if you even like it, and then maybe you don't like it. You know what? You're early enough, you can switch to a different subclass because you didn't like that subclass. But you're gonna play literally, level 1, level 2, level 3, subclass time. Level 4. I get my ability score improvement that I could have just had anyway. Cool, whatever. It's still the same shit. You still only have 1 attack. You still only got at most fucking 4 spells.
There's a lot of enemies that I think you miss out on starting at level 4.
Not even. You're still because shadows will still fuck you up. You can still fight hordes of goblins, of orcs.
Yeah, but goblins aren't fun unless they're actually gonna kill you.
Goblins can kill you at level 4.
Yeah, but they're more likely to kill you at level 2.
Sure. But no, we're moving on. We're moving past this shit because that's what it's about. The whole killing thing. Oh yeah, your potential to die. Yeah, whatever. You always have a potential to die. Just throw a fucking young adult dragon at them at level 4. Yeah, plenty of potential to die.
Yeah, at level 2, at young adult.
It's still the same. It's still the same
It's the
threat.
same. It's the
It's the
same.
same threat. There's no
Nah.
way. They will all have as equally amount of chance to die. Well, maybe not equally, but there's still a high chance to die.
All I know is that
Anywho,
I'm making great decisions here.
moving on. Finish this off, buddy. Just finish this off.
Okay, I have a little short story. It's maybe even a soliloquy, but you have to be horny,
You have to be
Adam. You have
horny.
to be horny,
Sammy, we have to be horny. Clearly, by the title of this story, acolytes, apprentices, but you have to be horny. By Smoker Druid.
Yeah,
That checks out. That name does check out.
here we
Take it
go.
away,
It
buddy.
works. There we go. The beginning is it's mandative non-native speaker. Sorry for bad grammar. This is a short and light one. I remember this some days ago. Even if I don't have all the details, let's just get into it. In the middle of the pandemic, I joined a Discord game of D&D. I don't recall if it was the DM's own take on Greek mythology or Odyssey of Theroa or something.
Theros, yeah, Odysseys of Theros.
Theros, yeah. I intended to play a satyr or satyr, depending on the terrible way you pronounce it, lore bard, someone who wanted to find the new epic heroes of the time and write their histories and leave a heroic legacy behind. In session 0, the DM told me that all of the satyrs are always horny and love having sex above everything. And you're a bard even. I guess I'll have to keep an eye around.
No. You do the first part of that sentence. You got to do the first part. There it is. Yep. Yeah,
I guess I'll have to keep an eye on you around the female NPCs.
Yeah, you got to get the laughs in there.
Yeah,
That's how you really sell it.
Yeah, I just wanted to be a lighthearted support character, but the DM insisted I had to be a sex freak. Eventually, I don't know if I left the server before the first session or if the game fizzled out, but yeah, that happened.
Yeah, we all saw it coming. We all knew what this was.
I don't know. Look, and this is me. Your friendly power gaming rules lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're gonna play bard or warlock or sorcerer,
you're a horny
or
power
paladin,
gaming rules lawyer now,
or any charisma based class. Swashbuckler rogue. Anything where you have high charisma. I think being a little horny is okay.
I'll be honest. I don't even care about. I think being a little horny is always okay. There's nothing wrong with being a little horny in any class. In fact, I would submit. Try it with different classes.
Yeah.
Try it as the wizard. Who loves to read smutty novels. Like I did that with Alistair.
I want to read erotic fanfic.
Yeah, exactly. And do it with well, I mean, technically,
play a samurai fighter.
Yeah,
play a samurai fighter and just be super down low horny.
Yeah, low key horny. You're just
my big weapon in my Tuesday campaign. He's a barbarian and he's super horny all the time.
There you go. Barbarians, be a monk. And play Master Roshi from Dragon Ball Z, who's super uber horny all the time. But then on other moments, though, he's very serious and wise and worldly and disconnected. And he sees a badass banger babe walk by, and he just literally goes he does a 360 head or 180 head turn, ooga, and runs off after her. It's okay to make some horny characters here or there because it's funny and it's fun sometimes, right?
Or just sometimes characters are just gonna be a bit horny.
That's
not
true.
even the character themselves are horny,
not
but
in
just
a weird way, but maybe
in the world. People can be horny.
People are people. They can be horny. If you see an attractive man or attractive woman, if the GM describes them they're very attractive or they have a high charisma, they have whatever, it's you can be a bit horny for them. Sure. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm playing a Dragon Heist. No. Heist of Waterdeep? No. Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
There you go. I was going to say, I was I
think you know. Eventually.
Yeah, but
I got there.
Close. I wasn't let you finish.
There's a character in that book who literally, you are introduced to him in his private quarters wearing a fancy hat, no shirt.
I was gonna say
ostensibly a furry pimp coat and a speedo, and some cool boots. But that's what he wears. It's what he chooses to wear
I mean,
to talk to
that's
potential business partners.
that's just presentation and style right
And
there.
like, so for me, my character before that, there was no talk about their sexuality, no talk about anything. And then that character appeared in front of us, and I commented to my DM and the other characters in the room if they noticed that my face was immediately very flushed and I was
Mm-hmm.
stammering over my words when I role
Mm-hmm.
played. And they all went, "Oh, what
Mm-hmm.
is this?" And yeah, that's, I think stuff like that is great because it
It
gives your character depth.
absolutely exactly, and it gives the story depth, and it gives
You don't have to make
more
it gross.
intrigue. Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
You
It
don't have to
doesn't
like
have it
grab
doesn't have to
women
be
or
degenerate. It doesn't have to
no.
be toxic. It doesn't have to be nasty. Like you can be horny, you can be sexual, you can be intimate, and without it being all fucking weird and
Yeah, you
shit.
could be Violet Sky. You could be
Yeah.
happy.
I could be blue, I could be brown, I could be violet sky, I could
I
be
could be
hurtful, I could
happy.
be
I could be
purple.
horny.
Exactly, right? It could be anything you like. Again, it's
Yeah.
fine. Like just do it with some class and taste. You know, just do it in good taste is what it is. Don't do it in bad taste or toxicity. That's it. It's not that hard. Let's look at some of the comments, shall we? The first comment, top voted comment goes, it's nice that they air out their crazy early on. Saves you a lot of time. Hey, it's Acid Octopus again. We thought we see him in here too. I've really never understood people who want characters to be reduced to walking pickup lines. At best, it's tired and predictable. At worst, it's gross and uncomfortable. If not, sometimes outright offensive. There's nothing wrong with characters that have a flirtatious side. See? But when their whole personality is reduced to just wanting to fuck anything on legs, I die a little inside. Yeah, that's fair. See? Nothing wrong with being flirtatious. Nothing wrong with being a little horny. Nothing wrong with being a little sexy. Hit it. Everybody loves it. Who doesn't love sexiness? Everyone loves sexiness. Come on. Wow. Jesus. There's another comment below that, and their name is literally PM nudes for degrading. Obviously, of course, it has to be this dude who comments on this. The DM should have disclosed if it was going to be ERP, obviously. But Greek myth is a super horny setting to begin with, which it is, which can be played without the sex, of course. And OP replied with, I'm going to play the most sexually charged race in all of Greek myth besides the gods. A kind of horseman, horse-membered man, goat man, best known for having a comically massive schlong that's constantly exposed and hard because they're always horny. I'm also picking a class that's stereotypically always horny. I can see how the DM misunderstood and thought OP was leaning into the sexual subtext rather than playing against it. The GM should have been clear, but I can see how it happened. You know what? PM nudes for degrading? That is a surprisingly well said message for what I expected from your title, from your name there. Honestly, I agree. It is understandable. Like it's not like the GM was maybe pulling that shit out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, fair enough. But obviously, the first priority of a GM is always, if you're going to do something with a player's character, you have to get the approval. You have to talk and get the approval of the player themselves first. Like, that's just always rule number one. But you know what, y'all? I think with that, we'll go ahead. We're going to end today's session. We appreciate you guys so much. If you stuck with us this long, we hope you enjoyed. We hope you laughed. We hope it inspired or instilled or compelled some emotional intrigue or reactions out of you. Please be sure to like and comment on the video if you enjoyed. Let us know what you guys thought. Subscribe and share the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on all the new videos we post. And we'll be sure to catch y'all next time when we dive back down into the archive. Peace!